Hi, this is Laura Powers, and I'll be presenting my proposed research study. The title is Autonomy, Relatedness, Competence, and the Circus, Prospective Research on the Impact of Movement-Based Arts Activities on Self-Determination for Youth with Disabilities. So the proposed research study references relevant studies on the positive impact of circus-related activities, involves participation in movement-based art activity involving circus skills, measures aspects of self-determination via ongoing qualitative surveys, and has prospective participants that would be age 7 to 17 who are currently receiving special education services and may have one or more disabilities. Potential positive outcomes would provide information for practitioners leveraging circus activities for youth development of self-determination. So these could include school educators, circus coaches, program developers, and anyone else. So I just wanted to, first of all, share a short video that describes an example of a program in this vein, just to provide a better picture of what this even looks like. So this is Senka in Seattle.
I realized that circus, because it is so malleable, it is so adaptable, really suits so many kids' needs.
We wanted to be something different from the other programs, rather than being exclusive. We wanted to be inclusive, so all of our students would fit in some way. It didn't matter what size or shape you were.
The very first child that I worked with who had a different physical ability, the mother contacted me and said, "Can you work with my son who's in a wheelchair?" And I thought, well, sure.
Here, try anything, do anything, and you'll be great at it.
The focus here is more on creativity as opposed to competition.
I think that for every individual, it's important to be able to push yourself, to be able to find some area in which you strive to be better, and then to find the tools in order to become better.
Being at Senka, it helped me write a new story about myself, that I'm strong, and that wasn't something that I really knew before I came here. I didn't really know that.
There's really an opportunity in circus for you to grow your mind, to grow your body, and to grow your heart.
All right, one thing that I really loved that Nicole said, one of the adult participants, was that it's really more about creativity than competition, which is particularly relevant, as we'll see, to this study. So this is just an example of a pretty large and established program. However, what we'll be looking at here would be something a bit smaller and more incorporated within a school. All right, so one thing that should be noticed about these kinds of circus activities, rather than say a professional circus or attending something like that, is that it's really more about the process rather than the product of the actual show. A quote that I really love by Dana Goya, I think he used to be the chair of the National Endowment for the Arts for some time. He says, "The purpose of arts education is not to produce more artists, though that is a byproduct. The real purpose of arts education is to create complete human beings capable of leading successful and productive lives in a free society." So a term that is often used to describe these types of activities is social circus. So this was a term coined by Cirque du Soleil to describe their work using circus as a tool for different social outcomes. That program is called Cirque du Monde. It was established in 1995. This American circus educators have created a definition that's accepted by the field. It's undergone a few revisions, but this is the most recent one that was decided on their EdCon. I think it was in October. It says, social circus refers to the use of circus arts as a medium for social justice and individual wellness, and uplifts the role of art and culture as powerful agents for change. Social circus practitioners support participants as creative change makers through the collective development of self-esteem, solidarity, and trust. All right, and I would also just like to define what I mean by self-determination theory. So this was a theory proposed by Deci and Ryan. And it is a way to look at human motivation and personality through empirical measures and identify the needs for competence, relatedness, and autonomy as vital for the well-being and growth of humans. So autonomy is talking about the ability to make one's own decisions about your life. So then relatedness is talking about a experience of belonging and in your community. And then competence relates to the ability to feel like you're actually achieving and working towards goals. So the literature review of similar activities, these are all related to circus activities specifically. Heller and Tagliatella in 2018 found benefits to physicality, teamwork, and following directions amongst participants who had various disabilities. Jessica Hentoff comments that her students experience great benefit in a variety of physical skills as well as life skills, which include teamwork, persistence, attention, and trust of others. Seymour and Wise in 2017, amongst a population of participants with autism spectrum disorder, found that they had increases in emotional, expressive, and relational outcomes. And then Eggins et al. In 2019 comments that the cooperative rather than competitive framework of circus may offer unique benefits for the aspect of relatedness particularly. So the personal relevance to this study is that I became intrigued by the benefits of these activities after beginning participation in a circus program as a young adolescent. I saw what I would describe as these aspects increasing in my own life. I have coaching experience with a wide range of participants, including as adults as well as both typically and atypically developing children, ages 7 to 17. There's one particular student that I worked with at the FSU Circus Camp, which the background photo of this slide is from. He, I believe, was diagnosed with sensory processing disorder, and you could just see all these benefits throughout his weeks and years coming to the program. He was able to do advanced tricks on the trampoline. He was doing the flying trapeze, and beyond that, you could just see increasing confidence and sociability and things like that. So seeing all these things, I was interested in finding more concrete measures rather than just anecdotal experiences of the impact of these activities on participants so that these practices may be substantiated and developed. So my research question was, how can movement-based arts activities, such as circus arts, support self-determination for youth with disabilities? So the participants and setting of my proposed research study would include participants ages 7 to 17. They would be receiving special education services, and they may have one or more disabilities. Of course, these activities do have a moderate risk associated with them, and they can, they're just a little bit not the usual PE. So we would definitely want to make sure that parental approval and consent, the full nature of the program, are received, and the size of the group would really just be based on the interest level at the particular school that would be partnered with for this program. So yes, it can be set up at a local school gymnasium with the proper safety measures such as mats and spotters, and then the help of a qualified rigger, especially for the aerial component, which I'll describe in a second. So materials include data collection measures, which are the AIR, which is the American Institutes for Research, self-determination scale, as well as ongoing qualitative surveys throughout the program. And then there is also obviously required circus equipment, and that includes juggling balls and scarves, as you can see the kiddo working with in the photo to the right, as well as an aerial hammock, which the bottom photo shows, and safety mats. So that's the necessary stuff to do each of these activities. So I'll just describe this one right here. This is an example of partner hand balancing. This would be juggling, and this is aerial hammock. And you can see the wider view right here. And this is an example of a proper placement of the mat. These are the 3 activities that are used in this study. So the procedures, before beginning the program, each participant would engage in an entrance evaluation, which is the AIR scale, the self-determination scale. And then prior to each class, which happens 3 times a week for 4 weeks, they would participate in a qualitative survey via an interview. And the questions are, do you know what you want to do today? Do you feel like you are accomplishing your goals? And do you feel encouraged by your teammates? So these questions were kind of inspired by the AIR scale, and I chose them each to address at least a little bit about each of those 3 aspects that we're talking about. So the first question kind of relates to the autonomy. The second question relates to the competence. And then the third question relates to relatedness. So then after completing the survey, they would engage in the circus activity. So I've included a basic sample lesson here. The actual specific procedures can really vary day to day depending on what the students are choosing, because a lot of it really is pretty self-directed for the participants as far as their choices that they're making for both the activity and the styles that they're using for tricks. And of course, this is guided by a coach and multiple coaches. So first, all participants would perform warm-up exercises Then participants would choose the activity, which is the partner balancing, juggling, or aerial hammock. Then they would receive instruction of specific skills for the day within those 3 small groups, which would be based on the activity. The participants would practice the circus activity within their groups. So the partner balancing and juggling definitely very often requires that interaction directly with group participants, but aerial hammock also would involve collaboration amongst the students on, okay, what styles are we doing? Are we synchronizing our act, and how, and if so, how are we doing that? So the participants would be guided to that interaction no matter what activity they're doing. So then each group would share a short sequence of what they are working on each time at the ends of the day. And then all participants would participate in a cool down and stretch. So on the 4th week, they would participate in another evaluation with the AIR self-determination scale. So the anticipated findings, based on the available literature and other observations, I would expect increases in each of the 3 areas of self-determination, which are autonomy, relatedness, and competence. I would expect to find particularly strong increase in the experience of relatedness among participants due to the non-competitive and cooperative nature of the activities as suggested by the Eggins et al. Article. I suspect autonomy could be increased further by offering a wider variety of options for the apparatus and more choreographic or act building opportunities. I also suspect competence could be further increased with more time in the program, as well as opportunities to share completed acts. So both of those would really be recommendations for going forward with the program and expanding it. So the applications of these prospective findings would be support for continuation of the program, insight for further development of the program, ideas for future studies, and the increased learner motivation may be leveraged to target other goals, including physical fitness outcomes, academic outcomes, or behavioral goals as identified by student support team. So self-determination is just really good for, motivation in so many areas of life. So that's where it can become really cool, because you can leverage this motivation and these changes in the students for many other areas, and it can really roll over. So these are my works referenced. Some of them were cited directly in this PowerPoint, but all of them were used to create my proposed research study. I would also like to mention that all of the photos used in this PowerPoint, unless noted otherwise, are copyright free and sourced through the Google Slides program. There's the rest of my works reference, and that is my research study. Thank you for listening.